So, welcome everyone to this dissertation Ed 899 course Start Here module. My name is Jenny Piazza, and I am the professor who has kind of worked with students to put this course together. And I'm going to let everyone introduce themselves, and then we'll go from there. Emily.
Hi everyone, I'm Emily Mulvihill. I am a faculty member in the School of Education. I do all the advising for the EdD program, and I teach a few electives as well as the 722 core course as for the research section of the classes required in the degree. And then my side gig, not really my full-time gig with teaching, is our principal licensure or educational leadership track in the master's degree program. And I'll hand it over to Jake.
Hi everyone, I'm Jamie Peralta. I am a current doctoral student who has gone through some of the phases, most of the phases, so I'm excited to share some experiences so that you don't have to have such a stressful time. You just have an easier road for us. We rise by lifting others.
Hi guys, I'm Geraldine Trujillo Santa Steven. I am the Director of Student Teachers here for the School of Education at CSU Pueblo. I'm also a doctoral student, like Jamie was saying, and I'm here today to kind of present to you kind of just a way of organizing yourself and what this should look like in the phases. So you guys don't have stress as you're going through these milestones. And a couple fun things about me is I also get to teach courses here in the School of Education. So I am like proud to be able to be true blue CSU pack.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lee Saunders. I'm a student who has more recently entered the EDD program, so I've only just kind of begun with the first phases of the dissertation 899 process, and I've gone through very little of it, so I'm maybe a little closer to where you might be at in the process and can kind of share how I've just started to dip my toe into all of this.
So we're hoping that this video kind of helps you understand how we have designed this course. So to give a little background, people, when we first started the program, and Jamie and Geraldine were two of those people, enrolled in dissertation courses, but they were unclear about what it was they needed to do. And being an online program, Emily and I kind of came together and were working with the doctoral committee, and Geraldine was on that as well. And we were like, we have to figure out a way based on what students are saying to organize this so that it becomes manageable. So that we say, in doing this class, the way that students have suggested it be set up, you're eating an elephant one bite at a time instead of trying to look at the whole picture. However, the whole picture is there. I am going to share that course. This is the course. This is our modules. The course is set up in 5 phases. And this section called Start Here. Today, we're only going to go over the Start Here portion of the course, where we ask you to introduce yourself and stay connected. And in introducing yourself and staying connected, we hope that it's not just one and done. We don't want you to come in here, introduce yourself, and then never come back here again. Every semester, we want you to come back, help those new people. Say, hey, this is where I am. This is what helped me. And I want to invite everybody that is on this panel to jump in when I'm saying anything that you might want to add to what I'm saying. But each semester, share your research progress, support others in completing their research, connect with people who are doing the same kind of research as you. It doesn't have to be in the same thread. Start a new thread. We just want you to have a community that resembles what might be happening in a face-to-face classroom, where doctoral students are sitting across from each other and actually before the course starts or whatever, they're talking about their research and they're talking about what it is that they're doing. So in setting this up in phases, we came up with 2 documents. The first document that we came up with was this milestones document, where it just kind of explains that the dissertation is now divided into phases with modular milestones. These phases and modular milestones are right here. There are 5 phases. Each one of those phases has a certain number of credits, and I'll let Emily talk to you about how she goes about advising you to sign up for those. And each one of those phases has a milestone. So in phase 1, by the time you're done, Module 4, you will have selected your chair and committee. I will be the instructor of the course. I am the person who adds content and any information that you want me to add. I'm the one who does that for the duration of the course. Your grades are in the grade book for the duration of the course. This course will always be open to you once you have been enrolled in it. Make sure you get in the correct course, not the shell course that you enrolled in for the semester, but the one that stays open, and it will remain open, and all of your coursework will be kept in the grade book so you can see exactly where you are. Once you have finished phase 1, your chair walks you through each one of the phases from that point on. I'm still available. I'm still there to help you. But that will be something that you'll also have the chair there to guide you on. You will see that there are 5 times that you will submit your proposal. Each time getting feedback. Each one of the proposals have been set up in such a way that you can, what we like to refer to as Frankenstein, which means cut and paste from one proposal, so that, for instance, your initial project proposal will be cut up and Frankensteined into your chapter 1, your chapter 2, and your chapter 3. So this document is in the section called Start Here. The other document that you will find in the section called Start Here is this checklist. And I know Geraldine is going to go over this checklist in a lot more detail, but I'll show you the checklist down here. She'll go over how she used this. But this is a checklist for every single phase. You can check off what it is that you need to do and if you completed that. Also at the top of this checklist is all of the directions for how you develop your committee. Once your chair has been selected, then you must have a committee of between 3 and 5 people. I'm not going to read this to you. It's very self-explanatory. Just know that your chair will help you to develop and select your committee. You want to keep this for your records so that you can keep on track. It's not, your chair may also have a copy of this, but it's not assumed that they are keeping track. We want you to be keeping track of that. Okay, I think that's enough overview. Emily, would you like to speak to the advising?
Yeah, I love the phrase eating one elephant or an elephant one bite at a time. Many students, when they enter the program, are interested, curious, maybe a little fearful, excited, a variety of different emotions typically circle around the dissertation process. And so my job in the advising process is to hopefully demystify the dissertation process for you, guide you a little bit, encourage you, be truthful that this is a large undertaking, but also encourage you to move forward. We're really lucky at CSU Pueblo. A lot of students at other institutions don't have the opportunity to have voice and choice in the dissertation process. I've experienced this. I know that there are other colleagues who've experienced this, and potentially other students if you're coming from another program. But the great thing about CSU Pueblo and our ED program with a dissertation, you have the ability to choose your chair, to choose your committee members, and to not have to wait to start the dissertation process. So if you are nervous or excited about 899, I encourage students within the first couple of semesters of their entry into the program to enroll in at least that first credit of 899. As Dr. Piazza mentioned, you get to work with her one-to-one. The course is this amazing repository of resources and really walks you through what to expect throughout the rest of your time at CSUP. And so I think it really helps alleviate a little bit of that nervous energy around what 899 will look like going forward. So once you enroll in the course, Dr. Piazza went through what it will look like. My role is to encourage you to know that you don't have to finish that one semester, that first credit of 899 in any specific amount of time. I mean, there is a timeline as far as completing the entire degree, which is 6 years. But if you want to take a couple of semesters in 899 and really delve into the resources and spend time with the resources and getting to know them and asking questions and figuring out what you'd like to study ultimately, and then who you'd like to serve as your chair and committee members, and really take the time to be able to do that and not have to complete it in one semester, you have the freedom and flexibility to do that. You do not pay for or enroll in the next series of credits for 899 until you've completed the current phase that you're in. And each phase has a milestone associated with it. And so phase one, that milestone, as Dr. Piazza said, is choosing your chair and your committee members. And we have some guidance on how to do that in the course that we can talk about once we get to more information about kind of maybe the next phase and moving forward with your chair and committee members. But there's lots of support with that process. I mean, lots of eager people within our department and even at the school in general at CSUP that are eager to help you as well. So I just really advise you to think about enrolling in that first credit, ask lots of questions. And then I tell students, once you're in the class, once you've talked to Dr. Piazza, once you're starting to work through some of the materials, if you have other questions or want to go through each of the phases kind of step by step, I chair and committee member. Most of our faculty do. We're happy to walk through that process with you. I can walk through it with you from an advising perspective. I just don't want to overwhelm you. And I think enrolling in that first credit is just really critical to kind of get your feet wet and get under you. So hopefully that's helpful, but I feel like I'm a pretty accessible person. So just happy to support where I can as far as the advising process goes, or if you want to talk about it more. So I'm going to hand it over to Jamie Peralta, who's actually one of the students that I have the blessing to be able to chair, and she's so far along in the process, and I'm so excited for her, so she's going to share her wisdom with you.
Dr. Mulvihill has been an amazing resource for this. And so one of the things I'll say is once you have decided who your committee chair is, I think Geraldine will say the same thing about Dr. Piazza. Once you've chosen your chair, really use them and utilize them because they're very knowledgeable and willing to help. So I think that's just been amazing. So I'm looking at our Start Here section and the things, and I'm going to share some of the things that I really focused on and that really helped me. Because as Dr. Mulvihill said, we have a lot, it feels a little bit overwhelming at first and like a really big thing. But I think for me, going through to really understand everything was super helpful. So I went through the Fort Collins dissertation guidelines to really understand what is expected in there. I've also used other dissertations that are kind of adjacent to the subject that I'm studying to see what they've done, see how that works. So in addition to just looking at the dissertation structure, or just in addition to looking at what their content was and resources, I was looking at their structure and what they included. That way I knew the expectations, you know, am I writing 50 pages for chapter 1? Am I writing 50 pages for chapter 2? What does this really look like so that I knew what to expect? So in the guidelines in there, I really looked at those. The School of Education templates, really understanding what you're putting in each one. And I think when you look at each of those chapters separately, it makes it less daunting. So I really encourage folks to really look through those to understand what each piece looks like. Because again, a little bit of chunks, and I really appreciate that that's how this course is set up, is everything is chunked together. So it's not like, okay, you finish your classes, get your dissertation done, let me know how it goes. It's really a long side by side with the faculty to be able to do that. And then the other thing in there that's been a really helpful resource is the GradCo. So they've been doing webinars and topics, I think, for the past 2 years. So this happens to be what they're doing now. And those professional developments webinars have been really helpful and fascinating. These are really good ones right now, especially proposal writing is in there. So those of you that might be at the early phases and looking at what your chapter 1 looks like, that can be really helpful. They've also done things on stress management because we all know that we've added something else into our schedule of with it being school on top of what we're already doing if we're parents and partners and employees and doing a lot of other things. So those have been really helpful to kind of get an outside perspective on resources to contribute to what you're doing to really understand. And then I know there's a little blurb in here about the library and managing resources, literature reviews, and citation management. I will just say that I used Zotero from the beginning, even before I started writing the dissertation. So for one of Dr. Piazza's classes, we had to collect articles on leadership. And so I put them all in there. And then it's been super helpful as I wrote my chapter 1 in my literature review to see what articles I put in there that I can use in that literature review. So for me, it's been Zotero and it's web-based. And I haven't run out of space yet. So I really, with all of the articles that I have in there, so I really encourage you to try that out as in the beginning, just to get used to it. So that way, when it comes to dissertation time, that you can really utilize that with fidelity and just use it well. So I will pass it over to Geraldine.
All right, I love, just let me piggyback off of what Jamie said. I think what's beautiful about this course is the fact that you have faculty who is just willing to go above and beyond to support you throughout this program. And I'm just going to share, I've had those moments where moments of excitement, I have moments of tears, I've had moments of happiness, disappointment, all in one. But what's great about this is the fact that you can still not only rely on the professors, but rely on your chairs to see you through. And I think that's the key, you know, like Jamie said, I just thank Dr. Piazza and Dr. Mullaville for just really keeping us, you know, organized. I mean, that's the key, it's organization. And so what I'm going to share with you is just kind of what I have done in this process so you guys can see. And so I'm going to go ahead and share now my screen with you. And what I'm looking at is this ED 899 dissertation committee requirements. And what I did with mine is I actually created it into a PDF shareable form. I do have that available. So if you ever want that, or you want to say, hey, Geraldine, I like how you designed it. I like how you created that. That's easy. That's something for me. Just let me know. I'd be happy to share that with you. And this is something that has really helped me throughout the process. And so if I take a look at this and I just kind of go down, you can see what I've done. I went through phase 1, and as I was hitting the trajectories, I went ahead and I gave myself a check mark to say, this is off my plate. I don't have to look at that anymore. Let's celebrate this. And then what I did is I went down to phase 2, and this is where I'm like, okay, I've enrolled to my credits. I've met with my chair. I've turned in the initial proposal, and I keep going down and down. Check, it's off my list. And then as I went to phase 3, same thing. Now, what I do want you to look at, and you're probably going to question and say, well, hold on a minute. You're already down to the last phase, but in here you have notes. Yes, I am going to tell you now throughout this process, you are Frankensteining like crazy. You're going to learn what Frankensteining means. So don't take it personal when you have that instructor that says, this is great. However, now you have to Frankenstein this, you have to redo this, you have to redo this. It's because what you're doing is you're tightening up your dissertation. It has to flow. It has to make sense. And as your methodology changes, as your research changes, as your data changes, you have to adhere and change with that. So it's a process. So I just want to reiterate to you, yes, I have been approved for my chapter 2, but I'm in getting ready to write chapter 4 and 5. So what do I have to do? I have to go back and look at my chapter 2, take out some of that chapter 2, put that into chapter 5, and maybe, you know, elaborate on a few concepts there. Same thing with my milestone 6 here. I have to align this to fit the IRB and make sure, everything is aligned with my methodology, with my chapter 4 and my chapter 5. So I went ahead and I keep going down. I have my phase 4, which is the IRB proposal. You'll want to make sure you get your training done right away. There are wonderful videos that tell you about this. I know Dr. Vicky Boley and her team did a fantastic job with recreating that IRB process and what it looks like. It is so easy now. It's just a click of a button, and then they have videos that explain how to do things. You can always rely on Dr. Vicky Boley to reiterate how to do the IRB if you're having problems. She is fantastic. She'll be able to jump in and help you with that process, along with the CSU Pueblo, whoever's in charge of the IRB. That whole team is fantastic. Now, I do want to tell you about this. Once you get to the IRB process, and in later videos, we really elaborate on this IRB process, don't take it personal. I don't want you to take anything personal, because you may have 258 corrections that you have to do. And these are things, not that I speak from experience, just saying, but these are little nitpicky things that they have to do, because they have to make sure that your dissertation is aligned and with protocols that have to be done with research subjects. So we'll get more into that in a deeper video. I'll probably have the box of tissues to explain that process, but it's a wonderful process. And then once again, finally, we get down to the phase 5, where I'm at. So check, I enrolled in my 4 credits. Chair committee meets with candidate to work on modules 10 through 14. And then I just got done with my research. I'm finishing up on one more focus group. And then boom, I'm gonna start writing my chapter 4. Once I get that okayed and approved, I'll it'll be a check mark. I'll move on to the chapter 5. And then I'll go to the dissertation references appendices, and I'll start tightening up that dissertation paper so I can get it done. Now, the next thing I want to share with you, when I keep saying you really need to be organized, is this. And let me share this with you. So now I'm one of those people, type A personalities, of those who know me. I have to be on track every moment of time of what I'm doing in my life so I can graduate, because I want to be done. I want to see the light at the end of the tunnel. So what I end up doing with my chair, Dr. Jenny Piazza, is she says, okay, you want to be able to graduate in the spring, we need to organize your life. And we did that quickly. And I know your chairs will do that with you, so you have a step-by-step, especially as you get closer to graduation, what this will look like. So here's what my spreadsheet looks like. So of course, I had spreadsheets that I have to do. I have a mixed method. So I'm doing surveys, I'm doing interviews, and I'm doing focus groups in order to form triangulation. So here's what this looks like. I have July 14th. That gave me 8 months till graduation. All recruitment letters go out, survey begins. And as you can keep seeing, interviews begin September 8th, surveys done. October 6th means that now focus groups are beginning, interviews are officially done. I'm coming up to my deadline, November 3rd. I have 4 months, okay? All data must be collected. It's time to analyze. And I keep going down and down and down until I come up with this April 27th through May 8th, which is my final defense with presentation, so I can graduate. And then we know it will take time, and we will go on this with later videos, to submit a copy to your editor and submit proof of submission to ProQuest. So don't panic with that. The main thing is you want to make sure you're getting to your defenses, you're setting your defense dates, and you also have time to revise. That's the big thing I want to share with you guys. And as you see here, March 2nd through 6th, that's set to defend 1. And then that gave them a 2-week time, submit revise 2. I submit that to committee. And then I have to defend a second time, and then a third time. So don't panic with all these revisions. The key of what I'm trying to say is just stay organized, guys. And like I said, your chair is there to keep your life organized. And I know Dr. Molaville is there to also keep you organized as well. And you can rely on anybody to help you with this process.
Geraldine, I want to interject just a second with what you said, so that the dissertation checklist that Geraldine had, you can just check that off like you've taken a bite out of that elephant. But when you get down into phase 5, you got to go backwards. And that's what that other one is her deadlines are, you must have things turned in by a certain date. So if we were going to make that date, what did everything, I should say, everything above that need to look like? And that's where her deadline sheet came from. So we're showing you this in this start here video because you're going to get the entire checklist. And when you get to the bottom of your checklist, you want to work backwards with that. All right. So Lee, are you done, Geraldine?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Before Lee goes, I just want to say also, if you're not as organized as Geraldine, that's okay. Like, because for me, it's been in my head. It has not been on a paper, and I've kind of gotten to the same point as Geraldine. So don't kill yourself if it's not like that.
Well, I just sent Jamie an email in the background. I was like, if you want to create something like this, we totally can. But yes, we don't we don't have this. But that's the beauty about what Geraldine said about CSUP and our program E99 is that every student individually works in different ways. And I think as Jenny and I have talked about quite a bit, there's that high touch approach. And so it's very
Yes.
individualized.
Can I just
Yes.
add one more thing with that? I love what you just said, Dr. Mulville, because, you know, it's not just even the professors and the chairs. You also have a cohort, and I think we forget about that. This whole group that you're having, it's a whole cohort that is here to support you. I even have newbies, I call newbies, you know, that are starting out. I was once there 2 years ago. And so even newbies starting out, they are like, hey, Geraldine, can you share this with me? Absolutely. Been there, done that. I'm happy to share. And I think that's all of us. And I know Jamie would say that as well. All of us who are at the finish line here, we're always happy to help support because even though we're getting ready to graduate, we're still here to support you guys. And we're a team, we're a cohort. So I just wanted to piggyback on you, Dr. Mulville.
Lee, what questions have been brought up in this and what things do you want to add to it?
I think I'll start with a reassurance alongside what Jamie said, which is that I'm not the type A personality or nearly as organized as any of these people, and I still feel okay about my life in this program. And so if you're like, you're like, I didn't make a checklist, I don't know who my chair is, I don't know what I'm going to write about, like that's okay. You'll figure it out. And if you haven't figured it out or you're not figuring it out, somebody said, it's a high touch model, right? You've got some friends here you can rely on. Dr. Piazza and Dr. Mulvihill, especially have been, just friendly ears to me when I'm just like, I don't know what I'm doing here. How do I pick something to research? Does it have to be my own thing? Can it just be about any sort of global topic? I think that's really helpful. So I would encourage anyone who's getting into thinking about taking their first credit or in the middle of their first credit and saying, I'm just sort of floating over here, because I think there's a lot of that, especially in online programs, right? Where you kind of feel like you're treading water and you're like, I feel like everybody else is doing something and I'm over here doing nothing. And I'm going to end up behind and then I'm going to be screwed out of a deal. And it's going to take me an extra semester, etc. So my best advice for you is to use the people that use your professors, look through your Blackboard, hit that contact me tool, reach out and be like, hey, what even is this? Where do I start? Right? Because that's kind of where I was, right? I was like, I can do this and I've got, lots of data sources, but when it came down to, where the rubber meets the road and I'm like, what am I actually going to look at and who's going to be the person to look at? I really didn't know. I wasn't already personal friends with anybody in the education department. I wasn't already, thinking up a large research project, but I sent some emails, sat down and had some conversations, over Teams. You don't have to come to Pueblo. This could be emails, but I think, kicking around some ideas. And I think Jamie made a really great point. I think you can use, dissertations that already exist out there. You can use AI platforms to say like, what dissertation research exists about topic I'm considering, right? Like what's out there. You can look at Copilot and you can look at GPT or whatever, and just kind of get a feel. Or as you're going, especially through your classwork, I found that, some of the classes, you have to do literature reviews or annotated bibliographies and these kinds of things. Look for articles that are relevant to something you want to study, right? Your professors will understand if they say, hey, look up articles about, global K-12 issues and assessment. And you're like, yeah, email Jenny and say, hey, I'm thinking about dissertation research around, first generation kids in Northern Colorado and their access to ESS services or something, right? ESL. They'll say yes, right? Use those classes, use that time to your advantage to cut down the size of that road at the start, right? Like you could spend a lot of time, going and finding research articles about something that really isn't relevant to what you're interested in, but use those classes and use that time to use, it should all be building towards towards your proposal. Which, to be fair, I haven't done a proposal yet. I did kind of an informal. I was like, hey, I think this is what I want to talk about. And I talked with a few of the professors and said, who do you think would be a good chair for me? I think that's another place where you can get stuck, especially if you're not a CSU Pueblo person. You're like, who should I ask to be my dissertation chair? There's only 4 or 5 of them, right? And you haven't really forged a relationship with any of them. So you're like, is this person going to be chairing 6 others? And they're like, yeah, I really don't have time for you, bud. I think that's an issue. So maybe that's a question that I have, Jenny, Emily, like if somebody works in Denver or some far-flung place and they don't know anybody at CSU Pueblo from anybody else, like how, you're required to have a CSU Pueblo Department of Ed, School of Education member on your committee. Like, how do they go about picking? Should they just, pick anybody? Is it get an interview with everybody and see who you like best? What do you recommend there?
So Lee, I think, well, when we get into the video on phase 1, we actually have documents in phase 1 that list all the faculty that are in the School of Ed, which, by the way, Lee, there are 11 of us. And
it's even better than I thought.
I love that you thought there were 5 because that means we're all like doing such a great job. You thought there were less of us. And
yeah,
just,
you thought
working all day and
tiny.
night. Yeah.
I was thinking like the graduate faculty, like the doctoral.
It's just that you've been with the 5 best, right?
That's obvious.
Right. So anyway, so there is a list, and that they tell their expertise and they tell their methodology that they're comfortable with, and you can pick from that list. And then we're also building a new list of people that are on campus that can chair, that are maybe in psychology and we've got somebody that's in business. We've got, so we're building that as well, social work, what have you. And so that's how they would find them. Also, that's where Emily and I come in with a phone call to us. What are you wanting to study? Oh, so-and-so would be a really, really good one. And then to just kind of add to this, we're hoping that as we graduate our people, they will become committee members and potentially chairs down the road of the different dissertations that, kind of growing our own. We not only eat elephants here, we grow our own. Anyway, what else do you have, Lee? Do you have anything else?
I would just say, don't hesitate to do that first credit. I did that a couple semesters ago, and then I've kind of left it alone since then. But it was a nice way to just kind of get a feel for what this process even is, and give me some runway to figure out who I could get to be a chair and figure out what I wanted to do my topic on and meet with that chair, right? Ask somebody and then have an idea like, hey, would you be my chair? Because I'm thinking about, going after, English as a second language and whatever, or whatever your topic of interest might be. And I think you'll find, as I have found, that when you're engaging with people that have PhDs that have been through this process, the School of Education, you say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. People that have been through the process have such a concept of it that I can't grasp as someone who's just here over at the very front end, right? So when you're building your committee, make that and get some input, but try to find other people who you might know or who might have a kind of similar, profession to you that have been through, that process, because they'll have such a great, I've really found that the people I ask to be on my committee, I'll meet with them occasionally and just be like, hey, this is kind of where I'm at. And they're like, oh, you got to think about this. And what about the philosophy behind it? And here's where you should be pulling your data. And have you thought about adding this element? And let's get all of these things. And so much more energy and knowledge and just kind of background on the thing. I think it can feel very much, especially in an online program, that you're kind of going it alone, right? That you're on your own out there, and there's some esoteric supports, but really, finding a committee and leaning on the people that are, here in this call and then on that list that Jenny referred to. There are people to help you. Don't feel like you just kind of got to figure it out, because you don't. That's what I've found. I kind of had a concept of it in my head, and the more I meet with my committee and kind of talk it over, and not the whole committee, one person here, an informal conversation, and just say, yeah, I'm working on this. Just the input that you get from them is so valuable that it makes it seem more achievable.
Awesome. I really want to thank you all. The things that you have said have left me with some notes here. And I really want to invite you, as I kind of clean up what some of the things are that we've said, or not necessarily clean up, but add to, clear up, whatever. Please interject at this point, because this was not in part of my plan. So I've just got some notes here. One of the things that I wanted to say is, we've repeatedly said, so go ahead and enroll in that first credit. Well, if you're watching this video, you've already enrolled in that first credit. But we've all said it. Every one of us said it. So know that you're starting here. Your first credit takes you through Start Here and Phase 1. So Credit 1 takes you to those. I want to meet with every person. So make sure that, I will send a note out, but make sure that you have called me and that we have had a meeting. And then most importantly, and Emily, you can chime in on this if you want, like we said, you can take Phase 1 and wait 3 semesters. Some people take Phase 1 and say, I'm not even going to do any of this until every one of my courses are finished. That is fine. Others are like, I'm going to start thinking about this now, or I'll never get done. And that's fine too. We do have a rule that you must pass one phase before you can enroll in the next phase. We also break that rule sometimes. So rules are only made to be broken, right? But anyway, if you find that you need 2 credits to meet financial aid, and yet you don't want to work on your dissertation, but this is the only place where you could find those 2 credits, if you work with Emily and me and Dr. Paquette, we'll help you find a way that you can do that, knowing that at the end you might wind up with more credits.
Jenny,
Emily?
I just wanted to jump in too. Yeah. And that's why we wait. And we started this last term, I guess. Jenny and I met and talked through it to talk about $8.99 registration until the end of the semester, because sometimes things happen last minute. You need those financial aid credits. You finish a phase you didn't think you were going to finish, or you need more time and that you didn't anticipate. And so we try to be flexible. And again, that one-to-one approach. So I will ask toward the end of each term, where are you? How's it going? What do you think you're going to need? I can double check it with Dr. Piazza, and then we can enroll you in the next set of credits. Or if you have a specific, like she mentioned, a specific set of circumstances, we can work through that too. So I'll just add that.
Excellent. Thank you. Then another thing that we said, and I want to say, one of our favorite sayings is, there's no good dissertation like a done one. And we want to help you narrow down what you're wanting to do. I know I had someone just recently tell me they were going to do something at this site, this site, this site, and this site. And I was like, whoa, 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 let's pick one site. Let's do this at one site. And like, if it makes it easier for you to think of it as a pilot. So you're not Jonathan Kozol. You don't have to write a big bad book. You are just writing a dissertation. And so don't worry about that. Now, that being said, a dissertation is supposed to show that you can independently conduct research, that you can do a literature review and write a proposal and develop methodology that is valid and reliable and generalizable, and that you can analyze data in an appropriate way. As everybody has said here, we are high touch. We have built this course so that it scaffolds you all along the way. But at the same time, you want to be sure you are looking at the resources that the students gave us to put into each one of those phases, because that's the difference in your ability to show us your independent ability to do this research. By all means, you present it to us, and like Lee said, we'll tell you, oh, but what about this? And oh, think about this. And oh, we're going to help you figure out how to make it better. But we want to see that you can independently come to us with something that we can build from. And those resources in 899 are there to help you with that. And the other thing, I think, Lee, you mentioned this as well. Many people are afraid to use AI, and they're afraid to use AI because they think that that's cheating. Use AI as your thought partner. Like it was said, what's a good research question in this area? Here's a research question I'm thinking about. This is something I want to do. Blah, 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 blah. Can you give me 6 good questions I could study under this? And then, or here is my research question. Can you tell me 10 good theoretical frameworks that could guide me in my, and then you have to go off and you have to study those, and you have to look at those theories and decide which one of these theories can I put together in a way that will make my data make sense. But so don't be afraid to use AI, but use it as a thought partner. And the other thing I wanted to just say is we're really lucky in this program to have Emily as our personal advisor, because she knows the program, she teaches in the program, she knows and has helped construct and build the phases. So she not all programs, I mean, many of our extended study people are being evaluated through extended studies. And this is somebody that's actually in the program and can look at where you are, what you need, and we can place you in the courses when it's the most appropriate time for you to be in them. And we have several courses that we've designed it so that no course has to be done at any specific time, but there are some courses that are better when done at a certain phase in your development. So those, oh, and I also want to reiterate something that was said. Always, always, always use your assignments to build toward your dissertation. Every assignment you complete, if like there's a course on policy change, maybe you're doing something on, I don't know, Geraldine, I'll steal yours. Maybe you're doing something on stress in during student teaching, and in the policy course, you examine a student teaching policy that might help eliminate some stress. Well, if you do that in that course, that could be something that ends up in your chapter 5 of your dissertation. You never know where those things are going to fit. Plus, the research that you did for that policy can go in your chapter 2. So always, you know, be looking for ways to use your class assignments to build your dissertation. So anybody else? I just went off there. Well, I want to thank you all for doing this, and of course invite you back for phase 1 so that we can help students understand phase 1. And yeah, if you have any questions or anything you'd like to share with us about this start here phase, you can privately email us. You can also put it in the course questions in the introductions forum of the discussion board. Okay. Anybody else have any? All right. Thank you again and have a good night.